Now this is a screenshot of what we believe will be the upcoming RTX 3090 GPU, Nvidia's new flagship based on 10nm from Samsung, and the upcoming Ampere architecture. Now they say that a picture says more than 1,000 words, but looking at this picture at face value alone, it would be quite difficult to say how powerful this GPU would be. Thankfully though, we do have some figures that comes with this picture as well, and it turns out that the full specs for this beast has somewhat made its way out to the public, something that we gonna look into in just a second. Now before we leave this image though, I wanna focus in on one key area of this chip. You see all these RT cores makes up what Nvidia calls RTX and ray tracing. These RT cores will play a huge role in Nvidia's upcoming architecture called Ampere, because as it turns out, all RTX 3000 series graphics cards will get these RT cores. In other words, all GPUs will have hardware accelerated ray tracing support even on the entry-level cards, and every new graphics card coming from the red and the green team will have ray tracing support. That's what the latest rumors are suggesting. What do you think about this? Should all upcoming GPUs have ray tracing? Help me out here guys, let me know what you think down in the comments below. I have been covering the story around Nvidia's upcoming architecture Ampere and RTX 3000 series for quite a while now. Now the way I like to work, I tend to gather up as much information as available on this specific leak, and generally I look at as many different outlets as I can, as I have time for, before I make an assumption regarding Nvidia's upcoming GPUs, given the amount of information there has made the whole reporting around Nvidia Ampere a bit more complex. For example, most outlets originally assumed that the GA102 GPU would be the upcoming 3080 Ti, and the GA103 GPU would take part inside the RTX 3080, and that was my initial thought as well. Let's just say that might not be the case after all. Cobite7Kimi, who's a fairly known tweeter at this point, who actually turned out to be correct in a few cases before, apparently tweeted a few days ago that the upcoming GA102 GPU, which we thought would be the upcoming RTX 3080 Ti, instead would sit inside the upcoming RTX 3090. Because we do have a lot of information around this massive GPU already, we can actually paint a pretty good picture how powerful Nvidia's upcoming flagship might be. So let's take a look at the power of Ampere and Nvidia's upcoming RTX 3000. Let's look at all the latest leaks and info around RTX 3000 series, the release date, pricing, specifications, as well as potential performance figures, possibly releasing in August in 2020. Hey, what is up guys, welcome to Arbin Hardware. My name is Robin, I'm your Swedish host and friend with bad posture and poor accent. So based on information from several tech news outlets, we originally thought that the upcoming GA102 GPU would be the upcoming 3080 Ti. Now, if we were to believe these rumors from WCCF Tech, 3080 Ti would be roughly 40% faster than its predecessor, the RTX 2080 Ti, and upcoming 3070 would be about neck and neck with current flagship RTX 2080 Ti. And according to WCCF Tech, they also made a guessing the upcoming 3070 could get an MSRP of $500, ultimately be a ton of performance per dollar if that turned out to be the case, but we're gonna touch on pricing a bit later in this video. In terms of release date, according to most information and leaks around us, Nvidia seems to be planning for a Q4 release, possibly in August, which means that both Nvidia and AMD is planning to launch their new GPUs around the same time frame. But with that said, let's focus on the flagship. Now the story around RTX 3090 basically originates from two Twitter profiles. We got Cobite7Kimi as well as Kitty Corgi, or Ragdoll_Kitties, who's been pretty active when it comes to leaks around Ampere. Should be said though guys, as always, we have to treat these rumors with a grain of salt. Kitty Corgi, or Ragdoll_Kitties, actually dropped a screenshot a few weeks ago where the user compared the specs and performance of Nvidia's upcoming full GeForce Ampere GPUs versus current flagship, the RTX 2080 Ti. We're gonna take a look at these specifications in just a second, but in terms of manufacturing process, well, it seems like Nvidia is using TSMC's fresh 7nm node for the upcoming high-performance computing products. Think, you know, the Tesla GPUs, while the GeForce series for you and me will be made on Samsung's new 10nm node, and this is according to most recent information, and these leaks are coming from Kitty Corgi as well as Cobite7Kimi, and this is a recent tweet. No EUV the GA102 has taped out. Tape out marks the final result of the design process for an integrated circuit or a printed circuit board before they are sent to manufacturing basically. As it turns out, Nvidia is planning a total of 5 GPUs for gamers, all of which with support for ray tracing. We got the GA102, the GA103, the GA104, the GA106, and lastly we got the GA107, all with different specs and core count. And the topmost SKU in the lineup will be the upcoming GA102, which would be the successor to the TU102 GPU. And again, all these GPUs will be made on Samsung 10nm SLI through next generation, and the link will also be available, but only for the top tier GA102 based graphics cards, and that being the RTX 3090. And Nvidia would also again enable RTX across all GPUs, even the lower end GA107 parts, which give us a decent indication that there has been some significant architectural enhancement made in the RT design on Ampere GPUs, allowing for more real-time ray tracing performance on these new cards. And when it comes to performance, we should expect significant gains in both rasterization and shading performance, and in some cases up to twice the increase, although that doesn't seem to be the case in rasterization, where the performance increase seemed to be a bit lower compared to Turing. But a huge uplift in ray tracing performance is expected, since Turing was the first generation implementation of ray tracing on Nvidia's graphics cards. Ampere will further optimize it and expected to offer a lot more racing hardware in the form of RT and tensor cores. So with that said, let's talk about the GPU configuration now. And again, the flagship GeForce GPU is rumored to be the GA102, and this will be the successor to the Turing-based TA102 GPU that was sitting inside both Titan RTX and the RTX 2080 Ti. And the GPU will feature 84 SMs, which equals 5376 CUDA cores, and this is 16% more CUDA cores than a full-fat TA102 GPU featured on the Titan RTX, which is a very expensive graphics card. Anyway, upcoming RTX 3090 will support up to 12GB of GDDR6 at 18 gigabits per second across a 384-bit bus interface. With that said, Copite7Kimi was tweeting that the RTX 3090 won't have more than 4992 CUDA cores, given that the full-fat Ampere will have 5374 CUDA cores, and the fact that gaming-oriented GeForce cards generally don't get the full core configuration would make the next generation Titan a much better candidate for this core configuration. And so what that basically means is that the upcoming RTX 3090 is either getting 5120 CUDA cores or 4992. And keep in mind, CUDA cores is not the only performance metrics here, as core clock speed will also have a huge impact on the performance as well, and we do believe Nvidia will be able to clock these GPUs quite high due to the more energy efficient process with less power draw. Again, the GA102 GPU is said to be up to 40% faster than the RTX 2080 Ti. Right below we find the GA103, which we do believe would be the upcoming RTX 3080 Ti. This one will feature a total of 60 CM, each with 64 CUDA cores, making up 3840 CUDA cores in total. But keep in mind, CUDA cores isn't everything, and the core clock speeds are also gonna be a very important factor here. This card is also said to feature a 320-bit bus interface, which means that it would support either 10 or perhaps 20 gigabytes of GDDR6 memory. Let's say Nvidia went for 20 gigabytes, and given the high costs that are associated with GDDR6 memory and the looming rumors of a memory shortage due to high demand from the console market, makes me believe that we will stay on 10 gigabytes. But as always, I would love to hear what you think about this. Please post in the comments below. Further down we find the GA104, and it is believed that this one will take part in the upcoming RTX 3080 and the 3070. And this card is expected to feature a 256-bit bus interface, which would allow for 8 gigabytes or up to 16 gigabytes of GDDR6 memory, but we probably gonna see 8 being used here to keep the pricing down. And the GPU is set to deliver 95% performance of the RTX 2080 Ti, which obviously could be much greater when custom models and higher, factory clocks makes it out on the market, but 5% slower power than a 2080 Ti. That is pretty damn impressive, and according to WCCF Tech, this card could be selling for $500 US, which would be pretty insane if that turned out to be the case. Lastly, we got GA106 and the GA107 GPUs, which would target the mainstream and the budget segment. The GA106 GPU would feature 30 CMs and 1920 CUDA cores, up to 6 GB of memory across a 192-bit memory bus interface, while the GA107 GPU would feature 20 SMs or 1280 CUDA cores with up to 4 GB of memory across a 128-bit bus interface. And keep in mind, all these GPUs will get ray tracing cores and will be able to run ray tracing too. According to the Taipei Times, Nvidia's Ampere GPU is going to deliver serious impressive figures in both performance and efficiency, and the overall performance gain is expected to be 50% faster than the existing Turing GPUs while offering twice the power efficiency. And it's mentioned that Ampere would have the power consumption compared to existing Turing GPUs, and what this means is that a GPU with a lower TDP figure than a RTX 2060, for example, would be able to outperform the 2080 Ti, which is obviously seriously impressive. And with the Ampere architecture, we can definitely expect true 4K 60 FPS ray trace gaming thanks to the updated architecture. Now, although these are all very exciting details, we have to remember that these are just rumors at this point. Unfortunately, Nvidia had to recently push the annual GTC conference from a live webcast to just news released in light of the human malware, and this could change the timeline for major GPUs and key announcements. And so until we get an official confirmation, these specifications could obviously change, and so as always we have to treat this with a grain of salt. As for pricing, given the release of the upcoming console launch as well as Nvidia's planned Navi 2 based GPUs plan to release around the same time frame as these new Ampere GPUs, rumors are suggesting a somewhat similar price model as current RTX 2000 series. Maybe we see a slight price reduction thanks to much greater competition now. Anyway guys, I would love to hear your thoughts here. Thank you so much for sticking around this long. Now watch either of these two videos for more content, and I will see you guys over there. Until next time, have an awesome day, right?